Right now on Denver 7 News at 7 o'clock on Local 3, legal battles are threatening the recovery process for Marshall fire victims.
I long to go home. Every time we drive up and down the area, it's just, I want to be there. I want to live there. I want to be home.
So we are looking at the next steps for a lawsuit against Boulder County as Congressman Joe Neguse prepares to tour the fire damage today.
Aurora's camping ban is up for a vote again, but the issue surrounding homelessness in the city is expected to spark more debate tonight.
And free agency kicks off today in the NFL with the Broncos building around their new quarterback, Russell Wilson. Denver Broncos insider Troy Rank breaks down the holes the team still needs to fill. Russell Wilson will likely be introduced on Wednesday and will be on Von Miller watch. What's he going to do?
Oh, my goodness.
We will see. Good Monday morning to you. I'm Brian Sanders.
And I'm Micah Smith. We have a lot to get to, but let's start out with Katie LaSalle. Katie, things are looking good in the weather department today.
Yeah, not too bad. We had a weak cold front roll across the state yesterday. We're waking up to partly cloudy skies, dry conditions for the Front Range and Eastern Plains, some strong winds out to our east, and still picking up a little bit of moisture down south into our Sangre de Cristo Mountains. Snow is falling and rain showers over the southeastern plains, but will clear out quite quickly here over the next couple of hours statewide. Outside this morning, low 30s currently Denver and Greeley up through Fort Collins, teens and 20s into many of our mountain towns. A lot of districts on spring break this week, and by 10 o'clock we'll still be under a mostly clear sky, 36 degrees by then, and daytime highs topping out in the low 50s. Some gusty winds at times for the metro area. Strongest winds over the eastern plains could see wind gusts reach about 30 to 40 miles per hour at times. We'll be in the 50s today, pretty seasonal for this time of the year, 30s and 40s out to our west. We'll stay warm and dry for tomorrow across the region, but here comes our next western weather maker. It'll start to bring in some snow to the high country, then a rain snow mix here across the plains. I'll tell you more about that coming up.
Ooh, snow coming. Of course it is. It's March. Well, here's a look at Air Tracker 7. This is over Hamden and 25. I'm going to say it, that morning commute, it's officially underway. I'm sorry if you're out there driving in it, but if you're watching from home, you're probably not yet. So here's a look at what you got to know for the metro. You're seeing those typical slowdowns right there. Let's take a look at one of our CDOT cameras there. Now that's 70 and 270. You can see some of that slowdown right there. Now, if you go back to that map, once again, if you're headed to the airport for spring break, it's finally getting to be a little bit of yellow there. It's been in the green most morning, but you know, it's really not all that bad. And just taking a look up at Meade in that area right there on 25 where that crash was earlier, that has now officially been cleared. So other than those typical slowdowns, you're looking pretty good around the metro.
Yeah, not bad for a Monday, certainly. We know relief can't come soon enough for the hundreds of families displaced by the Marshall fire.
Yeah, there have been a number of challenges, some of them even involving the courts, but there's hope that help is right around the corner. Denver 7's Veronica Acosta joins us live from Superior. Veronica, Congressman Joe Neguse is set to tour the fire zone today.
He is, and Congressman Neguse will get what every other person and family who's lost a home in the Marshall fire has gotten, which is that ground view of what's left. Those left behind garage frames, the charred mailboxes, and all of that debris that is still covering the ground here. Now, Neguse will be walking up and down neighborhoods like the one behind me here, not only taking a look at what's left, but also speaking with families one-on-one that were impacted. This isn't the congressman's first time stepping in either. Earlier this month, he was able to get FEMA to agree to cover the costs of removing foundations, basements, and burned vehicles in the fire zone. Nearly a month ago, he spoke about solutions he's looking into for families who are underinsured. And one of the toughest parts of this saw is that debris removal process. Families have been waiting for weeks now for that. In February, Boulder County Commissioners awarded the cleanup to a Louisiana-based company that was out of the 11 different proposals. The company said it was capable of starting that cleanup by March 1st and could have it done by July 1st if there were no weather delays. But 14 days into the month and still nothing. That's because of lawsuits holding up that process. At the end of this week, a judge is set to hear arguments about the debris removal contract lawsuits. Boulder County says the judge should block any holds on the contract because the process was done properly. Any delay could continue harming the victims here. If the injunction is denied, Boulder County says cleanup that could be completed in July. That would keep with the original schedule, you guys. We're in Superior this morning. I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
It has been such a long wait for those homeowners, Veronica. Tonight, Aurora could approve a camping ban that allows police to clear a camp with 3 days' notice. Denver 7's Christian Lopez is live with a proposal that's divided the community.
Yeah, Micah, that's exactly right. It's very controversial. Some people have called it inhumane, saying it criminalizes the homeless, while others think that it will motivate them to seek shelter off the streets. And back on March 1st, during the council meeting, when this received the vote to move forward, things got heated, and the whole discussion lasted for about 4 hours. And what this ordinance would do is it would allow police to remove homeless encampments after city officials give them 72 hours notice to move. And if people don't comply, they could face citations, even arrests. But the city would have to make sure that there's enough shelter space available before requiring them to move. And it was actually a year ago that Mayor Kaufman introduced this ban, and it failed back in August. But now it's back on the table, and Aurora would join several other Colorado cities who have enacted a similar ban, like Denver, Boulder, and Fort Collins. And the latest numbers show that there are around 594 people experiencing homelessness in Aurora, and that's actually considered an undercount. And this ban, it could get final approval at tonight's meeting. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Christian. A bill to guarantee abortion access in Colorado will go to the House for a third reading today. Over the weekend, the House debated the Reproductive Health Equity Act for 23 hours. If it passes, the bill heads to the Senate. I want to give you some context. This bill guarantees a person's right to use or not use contraception. It affirms abortions are legal in the state, and it prohibits state and local entities from denying, interfering with, or discriminating against someone who has had an abortion.
Leaders from Ukraine and Russia are meeting for another round of peace talks right now. Russia is still demanding Ukraine change its constitution to commit to not joining NATO or the European Union. Ukraine, meanwhile, wants an immediate withdrawal of invading Russian troops. Meanwhile, members of the Biden administration will meet with Chinese officials in Italy today. It's over reports Russia asked China for military and economic assistance for its invasion. The White House National Security Advisor says there will be consequences if China helps Russia minimize its losses from the global sanctions. Also, Russian troops have targeted a military base next to Ukraine's border with Poland. This is along a road being used to bring in supplies to Ukrainian troops. 35 people have been killed and more than 100 have been hurt. Meanwhile, Ukrainians in Colorado are going to incredible lengths to save their families, even braving a war zone. Here's Denver 7's Sloan Dickey.
So this is the day after we got them across the border.
Michael Weinar just returned to Colorado from Slovakia.
They had a night to rest and recover.
Where his family is now safe after he helped them flee over the border from war-torn Ukraine.
Yeah, that was really real. I mean, going into a war zone.
He walked 100 feet into the country so many of his family members call home, a home now ravaged by war.
As soon as we got them across that NATO border, I mean, we felt so much better. I just felt all this peace, and my wife did too.
All of his family is in safety, but one, his brother-in-law.
They're all safe except for him. He's left in Ukraine because he's 36. Anyone 18 to 65 can't cross the border.
Communicating by Facebook Messenger, he says his brother-in-law wants to stay and fight for Ukraine.
I'd say it's now turned into kind of like a full genocide of Ukrainians.
Now, witnessing the refugee crisis emerging, he's an outspoken advocate for more assistance to Ukraine.
I think America can do more, and I think America has to do more because they see, tens of thousands of people getting murdered needlessly.
Last week, the United States banned oil imports from Russia as dozens of American corporations pulled out of the country. Weinar says that's not enough.
Whether it's NATO forcibly closing the skies, which would be the best option, but if not, then giving Ukraine the planes they need, and if not that, at least some sort of, systems of air defense.
For now, he will count his blessings.
It's just a different feeling to know that the kids are safe and our parents are safe.
Knowing the war is far from over.
We just wish we could say that for the rest of Ukraine.
Sloan Dickey, Denver 7.
How are you feeling after the time change? Spring forward is the hard one because we lose an hour of sleep. It can also lead to more car crashes today because drivers are tired. We asked a sleep expert what we can do to help with the transition.
Get up and get natural sunlight in the morning and go to bed an hour earlier, even before. And you may naturally do that. If you're tired because of the time change, you might naturally just want to go to sleep earlier. Instead of 10 p.m., you might want to go to sleep 9 p.m. because you're just tired from your sleep homeostasis changing.
Doctors also suggest avoiding alcohol and caffeine before bed and turning off those electronics. Now it's time for you to weigh in right now on the Denver 7 Facebook page. We're asking how the time change impacts you and how you and your family adjust. Michael says, I change my clocks and get on with my life. Shelly says she doesn't like the back and forth, but there's really no need for daylight saving time. Becky says, this is the best day of the entire year. Sure, we're all tired and confused for a day or two, but in exchange, we get to leave behind the dark, depressing days of winter and get our lives back. We want to hear from you. How are you adjusting to the time change? You can join the conversation right now on thedenverchannel.com.
It's hard enough with time zones. Now you're adding in daylight saving
Lots
time.
of changes.
The Federal Reserve is signaling that loans and mortgages could soon get more expensive while they're closely watching the war in Ukraine for their decision.
Plus, filling in the blanks around Russell Wilson, the positions the Broncos will focus on next.